Men want you to believe that brains matter more than beauty, so that we spend more of our time catering to men by overworking ourselves to make us seem like we're good women, so that we have no time and no energy to focus on beauty. And what does beauty actually mean? Beauty means focusing on our nurturing ourselves, focusing on us making ourselves the best version of ourselves, focusing on indulging in the things that make us happy. That is what beauty means. And when men tell us that brains matter more than beauty, it is a way that men try to control women into making them do more for them, so that first and foremost, they can make you rely on their validation instead of you actually realizing the worth of your inherent beauty. What men have a tendency to do, patriarchy in general, is that, well, they will start talking about this idea that brains matter more than beauty from a very, very young age to kids, women, girls. This is something they do in order to condition us to being the good working women that we have been so privileged to be in today's society, where everything is all about equality. And because we constantly get fed this idea that we chose this, we wanted equality, that means that now we have to prove ourselves to show we're really, really good women. We wanted this, so now we gotta act right to deserve our spot. If this does not reek of misogyny to you, then I don't know what. But this is exactly what men are shooting at us now, that women are suddenly realizing, you know what? I have the privilege of being able to work. I have the privilege of being able to spend time by myself. I have the privilege of being able to sustain myself. So what do I truly need a man for? Why? I can also make myself look hot. I can take care of myself. I can do everything I need for myself. So what's really in it for me to be in a relationship? What's really in it for me to be dealing with all of these problems that men are throwing at me? This is exactly when men throw the whole, well, brains matter more than beauty at women. And they do this from an extremely young age. I remember very, very clearly when I was younger, everyone's always talking about how, looks don't matter as much. Looks can only get you so far. You really have to be smart. And I wholeheartedly believe that getting an education is important. It's very important for you to educate yourself to become a woman who knows how things work. That's how you're going to be able to outsmart these men. That's how you're going to be able to use patriarchy to your benefit in a system that works against us. So we're not saying that you shouldn't be smart. But what men are saying brains matter more than beauty for is so that women constantly run around with this feeling of doubt about their own worth, so that we seek out men's validation, so that they can control us and we can obey them. They can actually manipulate us much easier, because you know what? The most easily manipulated woman is the woman who does not know what she wants. And if we're constantly fed the idea that brains matter so much, we feel doubt when we start tuning into something that we might like. Maybe you're someone like me who's neurodivergent and you take things very directly. Very, very directly. Me, I used to get A+, because I thought brains mattered more than beauty. So I thought that the only thing that I could focus on, and the only thing that mattered in society, was me getting good grades, me being a good girl. So I was constantly focusing on making sure that my grades were good. And to my detriment, I found out that whenever I left school, like when I left school and then I left for high school, and then when I left high school, it wasn't a sense of relief. It's not like anything changed. So in reality, did brains matter that much? Or was that just something that was imposed upon me, especially as a neurodivergent who takes everything extremely seriously and direct, that to make me not actually see the inherent value in my own creativity, in my own expression? And then what I actually realized and what I actually clocked when I suddenly left the system of school is that when I actually tuned more into myself, when I started focusing on my beauty, on my pretty privilege, and we're not just talking about beauty in a sense of you got to be a Victoria's Secret model with makeup in your face and everything. No. when I started tuning into the beauty of my own expression, of my own nurture, of showing up as who I deserve to be, not shrinking myself, not relying on being the type of woman who always shows up in the right way, and oh, I gotta make sure my grades are good, and I gotta make sure that I have my hand up all the time to answer the questions right, and if I don't answer the questions right, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna cry into my pillow. When I realized that that's not the name of the game, I could actually free myself from that. That gave me a completely new perspective on the whole idea that brains matter more than beauty. Because first and foremost, women are smart. Women are intuitive. So saying that brains matter more than beauty, it's kind of like saying you have to pick between the two. Like, you can only be smart or you can be beautiful. Nothing in between. That's a lie they're trying to sell us so that we don't realize the power of our actual beauty, the power of our intuition, the power of everything that's actually within the sphere of beauty. Because beauty is not just looking. Beauty is your essence. Beauty is your femininity. So when they tell us that brains matter more than beauty, they're essentially saying that you can either be smart or you can be beautiful. And when you're very smart, they will tell you, oh, who are you, smarty pants? Who do you think you are? And when you're very beautiful, they'll be like, who do you think you are? You're such a doll. Or when you don't wear any makeup, they'll say, oh, you're just mid. And when you do wear makeup, they'll say you wear too much makeup. It's a double-edged sword. It's not even a double-edged sword. It's just, no matter where you go, you will be penalized because men have set up the system. Patriarchy works this way in order for us to never feel good enough, no matter what we indulge in. But you know what? You know what happens to men? A man who pursues one thing, a man who's, very into his aesthetics, like, oh, I like to look pumped at the gym, or a man who is very, very smart. No one's going to tell him, oh, aren't you going to get into your looks more, or to the pumped guy? What about being smart? Because the value of a man in today's society, or in society in general, is inherent. But a value of a woman is only based on what she does for other people, whether she can make them feel smarter, whether she can make them feel like they have the upper hand. That is why when we are put in this category, oh, you can either be smart or you can be beautiful, we feel not whole, because we feel like, oh, these are the rules of the system, these are the rules of society, and women want to obey these rules because we are just people. Women, I don't hear no horror stories about women doing ungodly things the same way that men do them, okay? So it's a telltale sign that women are actually just more morally bound, which means that when we get some rules, we're going to follow them if that means that it's going to be for the greater good. So when they set up these rules that brains matter more than beauty, we're going to be like, okay, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that I live up to this. Only for us to realize down the road, 50 years into it, that it didn't make them like us more. It didn't make us it didn't make them pick us more. That's how pick me energy turns into resentment in the long haul. It didn't make society value us more. It just made them take our labor, take our energy, and use it for themselves because we thought we were going to get something back. We thought we were going to get reciprocation. We're not going to get reciprocation. That's the whole game. They want us to believe we're going to get reciprocation. They want us to believe we're going to get a fairy tale ending, but no. This is exactly why it is so important for women to clock their pretty privilege and use it and not be afraid of both being smart and being beautiful. Because you know what? It takes a really, really smart woman to put effort into her looks. And I hate the fact that it's always a trope that beautiful women don't have that much going on. But you know what? This stereotype is actually also beneficial too. It's beneficial for you to be able to go under the radar so you can literally slip right around all of the rules that men have set up, because they want you to categorize yourself as either smart or beautiful. And if you say, okay, I don't mind being stupid. I don't mind being stupid if that means I can be beautiful, they'll let you. They will let you. You just have to get by the fact that they are probably not going to call you smart. And this is exactly what's really hard for women because we've been conditioned to seek validation. Because if you're smart, let me ask you this. I mean, you're watching my channel, you are smart. But anyways, if you're smart, consider this. Do you need anyone else to know you're smart for you to actually believe you are? If you feel like you need to prove to people that you are smart, then you can't actually see the value in your own smartness on your own, which means that you are actually dependent on other people's validation in order for you to feel like you're smart. And this would or might be very heavily tied to this idea that as a woman, we feel like we need to perform. We're actually brainwashed to believe that our smartness, our intelligence is something that we need to prove, and we need to have like papers and validation from society or men or institutions in order for us to actually feel like we are smart. And this is why I hear a lot of women when I say, you gotta know how to play dumb in order for these men or in order for patriarchy to do more for you. You cannot get accommodated the way you cannot get the soft life. You cannot get the peace that you deserve in today's society if you are not ready to rely on using your pretty privilege and you can feel comfortable playing dumb strategically. You will get played if you reveal that you are smart. Because first and foremost, that will tell men that you are someone who seeks validation. Maybe you say, I don't need to seek validation. I'm smart and I deserve to show that I'm smart. Yes, you do, honey. You deserve to show that you're smart. But in today's world, they're going to clock that and they're going to use it against you to make you do more. I don't want that for you. So you're going to have to get comfortable with, in some situations where you're in environments where people take advantage of your intelligence and they play you down, they put you down for your intelligence, they use it against you, you're going to have to play dumb. Because that way you can actually position yourself in a situation where they're going to be like, it's just some stupid, beautiful girl. And that way, that's actually the smart move so that you can move into other environments that are actually going to value you for your intelligence. If you're in environments that are going to judge you for being both smart and beautiful, they don't deserve to see the smart side of you. The smart thing here would be to not reveal that, because they would not value it and they would actually undermine you. They will make you feel less smart because they will constantly put these questions of your worth in your head, especially men. Women too, in some degrees. They will start to question you. Ooh, you're a really smart one, huh? Oh, you're not just a pretty face, you're smart too. And then they will feel that you're a threat to their environment because they can't really handle that. And then they'll swarm towards you. They'll try to sabotage you. And that way you can't move. And you will literally find yourself drained because they'll try to drain you. They'll try to question you. They'll call you mid. They'll call you everything in the books. I get these comments all the time on my YouTube channel. As soon as I say something that women deserve to hear, I'll have people in my comment section saying, you're not that beautiful. You're a 1 out of 10. You this and this and that. That's what happens when you're not comfortable playing dumb. I know how to play dumb in specific situations because I also understand that people don't need to see how smart. I know how smart I am. I know how much of a nerd I am. I know how much in value I show to myself, but I also know that I can appreciate my own value way more if I actually keep it to myself. If I gatekeep myself, I can appreciate my own value way more, and I'll actually be able to get my beauty sleep. I won't be bothered by people that much, and I will actually wake up more beautiful because I didn't feel like I needed to prove that I was smart. This need to prove that we're really smart is exactly what men love. It's exactly what patriarchy love. They love it because this way they got an in on us. They got a way to play us. They got a way to say, oh, well, you're not that smart. And then we're like, you know what? I this and this and that. It's a way for us to get to discuss stuff with them so that they get our energy. Clock that. When men question you about your intelligence, that is something they do in order for you to spend your energy on them so that you drain yourself so that they can get control over you, or so that you don't have any energy to put into your beauty sleep, your love for the people that actually deserve your time. Yeah. So this is why it is extremely essential for you to clock that playing dumb is actually a great tool to escape being persecuted for being a freaking woman. You're going to get persecuted no matter what for just being a woman. That's how society works. But you can protect yourself in specific environments by relying on the pretty privilege you have, making it seem like you're a bit of a bimbo maybe, which is not a bad thing. No bimbo shaming here. We love a good bimbo. I mean, I'm a bimbo myself, so. As soon as a woman is really, really beautiful, they'll say, well, brains matter more. And as soon as a woman is really, really smart, they'll be like, oh, well, she never really puts effort into herself, does she? Women can never be right in the eyes of men, and that's what they use against us to make us do more for them. So why not just become comfortable with the fact that you're never going to be right in the eyes of men? Why not become comfortable with the idea of being a mean woman? Why not become comfortable with the idea of being a witch? Why not become comfortable with being the woman that, I can't handle her? As long as us women are ruled by the guilt that we feel because we feel like we need to be good women, we will essentially be pick-me's. Yeah, so as long as we have this idea in ourselves that, I need to be a good woman, I feel guilty if I do not do this, if I do not say this, if I am mean, then we will always be pick-me's. Clock that. So it is essential for you to understand that the only way for you to actually exit this cycle of being a pick-me, even if you don't even know you are one, is for you to get very, very comfortable with letting men see you as a stupid, just pretty, and maybe a little bit of a mean woman. Because you should know within yourself that you're smart. And if you don't know that, then you have something you need to work on. You have something you need to work on if you don't feel like you have inherent value. And I get it. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to tell you that, you should have been knowing. Because we are literally brainwashed by society to believe that our value is based on what we give and how much we do for other people, especially men. But this is exactly why they tell us that brains matter more than beauty. Even though when you walk outside the door, the first thing you see is a commercial for beauty products. It is so that we can feed into this idea that we are strong, independent women. We're boss women. Look, I can do it. I can do it all. I'm gonna show you that I can do it all. And the men are in the corner, like, you want to get equal pay? You want to get more? You want to get all of this? Do more, dance more. And then when we're suddenly like, you know what, I'm not going to get anything out of this, and we suddenly start going on our own way, we start putting our energy into ourselves instead of trying to please some man or society. Then suddenly it's like, well, how do you ever expect to get any respect in this society if you're not giving anything back? Like, as soon as a woman starts valuing her own time and she starts clocking that doing 50-50 with a man or whatever, that's not going to be valuable to her, then suddenly the men are always saying you don't bring anything to the table. So well, who do you think you are? But as long as you're doing the whole dance for the men and you're doing everything and you're servicing them and everything, then they're not saying anything. The only thing they're probably saying in their own head is that, she's stupid enough to do all of this. I'm gonna let her pay half the bills, go to work, be a boss woman, but make her believe that she's the one who has to dance and hop and skip to prove her value so that she can prove she's a real woman. This is the exact curse of society that our mothers have got stuck in. I know for a fact that my mother's generation was very heavily raised on this idea that a woman needs to be independent and a woman needs to do half the bills and half the everything, and she needs to take care of the kids and do food and everything. And apparently that was sold as some idea that we're empowered and we can handle it all. I have met so many mothers that are like burned out and they're complaining because back then society is all about we're gotta be boss women, and we know what, we're clocking that now. We're waking up as women. We're clocking that that's not giving us anything, and actually that's giving us the upper hand because now we have access to our own money. We have access to our own free time. We can focus on ourselves. And as soon as we stop focusing our energy on men and performing brains, then we can start putting energy into beauty, nurture, experience, ourselves, growing ourselves. And that makes the entry barrier for men so much higher. They don't scream and shout when it's going their way, but then as soon as you retract your energy, you're putting energy into beauty, art, expressing yourself, being who you want to be, just tuning into yourself. Then suddenly it's they want to talk, they want to scream, because now they don't have access to you. So the only way that they can try to get access to you is make you doubt yourself. When women start gaining more power and actually realize their power inherently, then men will naturally become more verbal, because there's something within them that's getting triggered by the fact that women are actually able to supply what they deserve to themselves. And then that inner voice within their body, within their shadow self that actually wants to protect and provide, it's screaming, because it's like, dude, you could be having a woman around you that's beautiful, that's nurtured, but you need to step up first. The men don't want to step up. So what they do is that instead of them trying to say, oh, I hear this voice, there's something here that I need to address so that I can become that version of myself that can actually provide for a woman. What they do is that they become verbal so that they kind of shut down that version within themselves. They're like trying to push it down. And they do that by being verbal towards women, by saying, oh, you're mid, you're going to be single forever, you're going to end up with cats, like that's an insult. They say all of this and all of that, especially on these incel forums, to make themselves feel better, to help other men dumb down and dim down this inner desire to actually step up and be masculine. That's why, when women are suddenly like, you know what, I don't do coffee dates, I don't do walking dates, I don't do this and this and that, I want more, I deserve more. Then they're like, ooh, you think so much of yourself, huh? That's a reflection that these men literally don't see themselves as good enough to be able to step up and take upon a role that they are actually very much interested in having. They just don't believe in themselves. This is exactly why we see this increase in all of this incel culture, and why it's very important for us women to be very aware of that, and for us to talk about things like this. Because now that we've clocked their game, they are going to try to become even more verbal. That's why they're gathering in these podcast groups and sitting around the table and talking about women's worth. Because they want us to question our worth. They want us to pick them. They want us to say, no. I'm more than just beautiful. I'm also smart. Look at all of the things that I can do for you. But in reality, it's just men talking to other men about their own insecurities. And that in itself is pretty sad. And this is exactly why it's actually very great for us to step into this power and to step into this, you know what? I know I'm all that. I know I deserve all that, because we're actually going to make men more verbal, which is going to make us have a way easier time of deselecting the men that we don't like. Because I'm telling you this, the bad men, they were all there before, but we just weren't aware of them as much because they didn't understand that we were stepping into our power as much. So they weren't triggered as much. Their fragile egos were still existing. They were just not being triggered as much. So that's why they weren't as verbal, because us women were very busy doing everything for men. So they had no reason to be triggered. And now we're realizing our own power. That's when the men can become more triggered. And that's when we know exactly what to stay away from. So to make something bad really good, which I think is hard in this case, it's kind of a blessing that these men are all verbal, because we're not going to sit and listen to them, but we're going to clock that they're that verbal so that we stay far away. And that's also why it's so important to be aware of this whole dynamic with it. Well, brains matter more than beauty. I'm sure you're just stupid. Or, oh, you're so beautiful. You like makeup. You like doing your hair. You like getting your nails done. You like bags. You must not have any brain cells. Girl, ride the wave of being perceived as bad, being perceived as stupid. Don't be afraid to let people hate you. Let people think what's wrong. Who are you? Oh, you're not that smart. Oh, I don't agree with her. Because the only person who needs to truly love you is yourself. And I'm not encouraging you to go out and do something that is not something you should be doing, but in a sense of morality. Because all of us women, we are generally raised to be very, very, very moral. So I doubt that you're going to go out and do something that is so ludicrous that you're going to get problems. Letting go of this morality and this guilt that patriarchy has upon us is making you actually be able to step into a version of yourself that you deserve to step into, that is not governed by the idea of being the good woman. And when you step outside of that fence, of that little pool that you've been sitting in before, you are going to get people that are going to be triggered, but it's a sign that you are moving upwards and you are triggering someone who's not ready to do the climb that you're doing. This leads me to another point, and it's very important for you to understand when you do step out of this idea of being the perfect woman, the woman who is morally right and who always does the right thing. When you step out of that, you're also going to be able to tune more into your pretty privilege, because men will also make women believe that beauty is something that we shouldn't tune into. Pretty privilege is a bad thing, because they understand the value of it. They love to take advantage of that value. They love to use our pretty privilege for them to gain access. What men really like to do is that they see a beautiful woman and they understand that societally, socially, it's going to be making him look better if he's seen around a woman who's very beautiful. That is exactly why they tell women that their beauty doesn't matter that much, because that way they stay for everything that doesn't make them more beautiful, so that the men can have more access to them. They can use their pretty privilege while the women don't realize that they're using it. That is exactly why they tell us that, oh, brains matter more than beauty, because it's making them make us believe that it's about an intellectual connection that's probably never really there, girl. And it's all about feelings and vibes, while in reality, it's all about the vibes that he can experience because he has you on his arm. And that's why when they say that brains matter more than beauty, that's because then you can show all of the ways in which you are smart. Oh, look, I can do all of this and all of that. And then at the same time, they also get access to your beauty. So you're trauma bonded to them because now you're doing all of this and you're waiting for reciprocation, and they're just using you as some pretty little trophy to get them to seem more powerful. Because men see you like that, and you're not going to escape that in general, but it's better for you to find a man, if you ever want to find a man who understands the inherent value of your pretty privilege, and who's not afraid to admit that he understands that having a beautiful woman is a power move. Rich men have trophy wives because, first and foremost, he understands. And a lot of the times, he's also very clear about the fact that he understands that having a beautiful woman is going to give him more power. But at the same time, this woman is also someone who clocks that she is going to bring him value, which means that she can demand more. And this is exactly why that power dynamic actually works, because they're transparent about what they see the other person being able to help them with. And we're not saying that looks is the only thing that matters here, but it's just always better to be with a man who understands and clocks that beauty is power. Because if a man clocks that beauty is power, and if he's very transparent about the fact that he knows, you know what, I know you're a beautiful woman. I know people are gonna see you as someone who's this and this and that. So I'm gonna protect you. And I also know that I look better when I'm with you, so I'm going to make sure you're taken care of, because I get something out of having you. And I'm not afraid to admit that. But on the first date, don't talk to these men about that. Don't do that. Anyways, beauty is important, girls.